grown up. Benson Hurst, Bath Beach. BENSON dash Hurst, HURST, that Boston Red Sox pitcher, and Bath Beach. He's 50. He graduated from high school, Lafayette High School, in 1953. I think a movie was made out of that, at that particular high school. I forget the name of the movie. We can find that out. Graduated from Brooklyn College Law School in 1962, LIU in 1959. He served in the Army. I believe he was in Korea in 1955. Upon graduating from law school, he was an honor student in his last year. He served as an intern in the DA's office in Brooklyn and became an assistant district attorney in Brooklyn for 5 years. Then he became a criminal defense lawyer. To show what the problem is,
particularly when the nation has suffered a tremendous loss and the families of our astronauts are in mourning, but we had to go ahead today or not go ahead at all, and we felt it was important to allow you to have this information. Today is a continuation of the Lawyer Ethics Symposium of the Commission. We will be hearing testimony of Martin Light, L-I-G-H-T. He's a convicted felon and a lawyer from the New York City area. Mr. Light is being compelled to testify under a grant of immunity from this commission concerning the operations of certain La Cosa Nostra factions in New York City. His testimony will again raise for this commission the issue of organized crime's reliance upon skilled professionals who are essential to its operations. These individuals and institutions, not just lawyers, bankers, chemists, pilots, other trained and licensed professionals of all types, are the life support of organized crime. Mr. Light's testimony demonstrates that a small cadre of lawyers are prepared to perform and acquiesce in unethical and unlawful acts for the benefit and preservation of organized crime families. Mr. Light is testifying at some peril to himself and his family. A word of caution is required, and I hope you all take this to heart. Today's testimony should not be interpreted as any indictment of the legal community or of the criminal defense bar in particular. The Commission wishes to point out that the majority of lawyers conduct themselves in an upright and legal manner and are essential to the functioning of our adversary system. However, the aberrations are serious and pose grave difficulties for the legal system, well out of proportion to the tiny number of individuals involved. Those of us who practice or practiced criminal law understand that there is a very vast difference between representing a client zealously and selling yourself to the client, violating your oath to the court. The importance of today's presentation can be further put in perspective by considering the very nature of organized crime. We're beginning to understand that organized crime is an industry which is dependent upon effective coordination of two components as we see it. There is the core criminal group and there is the shield. Shield can be characterized as the criminal group's protection from the criminal justice system. SHIELD protects the criminal group in two ways. First, it protects the criminal group from legal sanctions through the efforts of corrupt judges, attorneys, law enforcement officers, and politicians. Second, it protects the criminal group by concealing its income through the efforts of corrupt accountants, financial advisors, financial institutions, gaming establishments, and other businesses. Today, we're going to continue our exploration of these issues begun almost a year ago in February of 1985, when the Commission began its extended symposium to consider issues in legal ethics. At our initial meeting, we had judges, prosecutors, defense counsel, and academicians who discussed the problem. Today's public testimony is altogether a unique step down the road we began last year. for the first time, we are presenting direct testimony from a lawyer gone bad. In this fashion, we hope to portray precisely what the problem is, and at the same time distinguish once and for all between the lawyer who zealously represents persons accused of crimes and the lawyer who is, him or herself, a criminal. Commission will issue a written report to the President prior to April 1, 1986, in accordance with our mandate, which will contain an assessment of this problem and our recommendations. It's a critical problem for the legal profession, which depends so heavily on self-regulation. To that end, we've worked closely with the American Bar Association, other representatives of the bar, disciplinary committees, prosecutors' offices, and defense counsel. We intend to continue in that effort. Finally, I should add that Mr. Light's testimony has been limited in certain respects today because there are active ongoing investigations and prosecutions, and because his information has led us to refer many matters for prosecution. He will not provide today the identities of certain individuals associated with organized crime, and he will not provide the names of certain public officials and attorneys, although he's provided that information to the Commission and we've sent it to the appropriate law enforcement officers. Further law enforcement investigation of this kind of behavior must take precedence over our general interest in the explicit testimony on the subject. In this case, as in all others over the last 2.5 years, the Commission will be scrupulous in balancing the performance of its mandate with the needs of other members of the law enforcement community. I particularly want to thank Douglas Lavienne, who is a detective in the New York City Police Department, active detective, on loan to the Commission, for his excellent work in conjunction with our staff investigators, and there are a number of them, so I won't name them, and Steve Ryan, an attorney on the staff, in preparing this witness, in obtaining his testimony and preparing him for presentation to you today. Mr. Ryan, Mr. Brill, if you will have the witness brought in, we can begin.
You're going to swear the witness down.
Mr. Light, will you stand and be sworn, please? Mr. Lavienne, would you administer the oath?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I don't.
Sir, would you state your name for the record, please?
Martin Light.
Sir, are you a convicted felon?
Yes.
Would you describe the offense and the sentence, and would you speak up so that you can be heard throughout the room?
I was convicted of possession of less than 2 grams of heroin in the Eastern District Court in Brooklyn Federal Court for Judge Nickerson. I received a 15-year sentence.
You've served approximately 1 year of that sentence?
Just about 14 months.
You are testifying here today under an order of compulsion and immunity.
Yes.
You understand that you have to testify truthfully,
Yes.
and that if you do not testify truthfully, you could be prosecuted for any false statement that you make to a government agent.
Yes.
You have the right to counsel. Are you prepared to go ahead today without a lawyer present?
Yes.
Is it correct, sir, that you have been a lawyer for several decades yourself?
But over 20 years.
During the course of your legal practice, did you represent La Cosa Nostra families as the primary source of revenue in your practice?
Predominantly, yes.
Did you spend at least 15 years in the representation of these La Cosa Nostra families?
Yes, I did.
Did you represent members of all 5 of the New York La Cosa Nostra families?
Yes.
You are familiar with the structure of all 5 of those families?
Yes, I am.
You are personally familiar with important members of those organizations?
Yes.
You are knowledgeable about their hierarchy,
Yes.
their structure,
Yes.
how they operate,
Yes.
the types of crimes that are committed?
Yes.
And much of this information came to you in a manner that was not protected by the attorney-client privilege.
Yes, through friendships.
Your friends are the very same people you represent, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And you hang out with them?
Yes,
Prior to your conviction, they were your social acquaintances as well?
yes, that's
And
true.
During the course of your social acquaintances, they made you privy to many of their secrets, that is, how their organization is run?
Yes.
Sir, so that we can understand your testimony, would you tell us where and when you were born and characterize the neighborhood in which you grew up?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, October 28, 1935, and I lived most of my adult life in the Bensonhurst, Bears Beach section of Brooklyn.
What predominant ethnic orientations does that area of Brooklyn have?
Predominantly Italian.
When you were growing up there, were you aware from the time you became a teenager that there were organized crime groups operating in your area?
Yes.
Would you tell me how you came to know that there were Jewish organized crime groups operating in that area of the city?
Well, basically, I learned that through my own family. My grandfather used to own a Turkish baths, one in Brownsville, which was frequented by Murder Incorporated, and he owned one in New York called the Luxor on 46th Street, which a lot of Jewish bookmakers and gamblers, organized crime people used to frequent.
During the course of your growing up, did you go to those places with members of your family?
Well, my whole family, my father, my uncles, we used to go there, and they took me there since I think I was about 10 years old.
These were things that were known in the neighborhood. They were not secrets. They were not mysteries from people who lived there.
No, everyone knew who the racketeers were.
Were there persons of Italian descent in that area who, at that time, were racketeers, and were their children friends of yours?
Well, all my friends basically were Italian. We all grew up together, went to each other's house. Used to go to pool room when I was 14 years old, hang out on the corner. We went to school together.
Are some of those same people who you went to the pool hall with and who you went to school with the persons who you socialized with and represented who are members of La Cosa Nostra today?
Yes.
Was it very important to your practice as representing La Cosa Nostra that you had these personal ties as you were growing up?
Well, it was important in a sense that I was trusted. We grew up together. They knew my family. They knew my background, and I was someone that could be trusted and expected to do the right thing by them.
What does it mean to do the right thing in organized crime parlance?
Well, to do the right thing means to protect the family. It means, like, if I go to court with a client and I have any suspicions or something that he's going to be an informant or talk, that I go back to the family and tell them, watch out for this person, watch out for that person, or do the right thing. It's an expression that you have to come from the neighborhood to know what it means.
Is it a way of life, doing the right thing?
That's exactly what it is. The way of life in our neighborhood.
Tell me the names of several individuals who you went to school with and hung out with socially in those days as a peer who are now members of La Cosa Nostra.
Well, Louis Astuto,
Which family is Mr. Astuto in?
he's a member of the Gambino family. Joe DeCirio is a member of the Lucchese family. There are others.
Now, eventually you went to college and law school. Would you tell us today what college and law school you went to and about your service time, just so that we know your background?
Well, basically, I went to school, public school, high school, junior high school within the neighborhood. And I went to Brooklyn College for a year. Then I went into the service. I was in Korea for 2 years. I came out. I had the GI Bill. Went to Long Island University, graduated Long Island University, which was downtown Brooklyn. And then I went to Brooklyn Law School, which was also downtown Brooklyn. And at that time, I lived at home all those years.
In your last year at Brooklyn Law School and in the years subsequent to that, what position did you want to hold as a lawyer?
Well, my last year of law school, I found out through various bulletins that they had what was called a student honor program in the district attorney's office, where they take 2 students from the city law schools. So I applied and I received a position. It was non-paying as a student assistant in the district attorney's office, Kings County, Brooklyn, for 1 year.
Subsequent to passing the bar and becoming a lawyer, did you go to work full-time in that district attorney's office?
Yes.
How did you obtain your position as an assistant district attorney?
Well, after I graduated law school, I went up to see the district attorney, Eddie Silver, at the time, and he knew me because I worked there for a year, and I told him that I really enjoy working in the office, that I wanted to become an assistant district attorney. He told me it's a political office. You have to be a Democrat, and he can't appoint anyone. You have to come through the Democratic Party. In other words, you had to come through a various district within Brooklyn that make up the election district. So I joined the Democratic Club, the First Assembly District. Then within a year, I became assistant district attorney.
During your time as an assistant district attorney, were you assigned to the rackets division?
Yes.
What is the purpose of the rackets division? What kind of persons do they prosecute?
Well, we handle all the alleged, known and unknown, or what we suspect would be organized crime cases.
So you were literally on the other side from the same people that had previously been your friends in the neighborhood.
Yes.
In the course of your practice as an assistant district attorney, did you ever have occasion to speak with the leader of one of the Gallo crime family, and did he explain to you the view they had of persons like you from the neighborhood who became an assistant district attorney?
Yes, I was responsible for an investigation. We had an extortion case of a painting contractor in which the Gallows names and various other crime names came up, and I caused subpoenas to be issued for the grand jury, and I was in the Supreme Court outside the grand jury room ready to put them in the grand jury one at a time, and I spoke to Larry Gallo, who came over to me, and he told me he's there with a subpoena. So I says, I'm Marty Light. He says, yeah, we know of you from the neighborhood, you're a good kid. And he started to explain to me that he says that I know that he has nothing to do with this investigation. In other words, somebody was mentioning their names, the Gallows brothers' names, because at that time they were very feared in the 60s, and somebody was using their names to extort money from some painting contractor, and he says, we have nothing to do with this. And he says, the way we are. You grew up in the neighborhood. He says, if we do something wrong, you just call us on the telephone and we'll come down. You don't even have to come to the house. He says, but God forbid. He says, if we're innocent and somebody looks to frame us, shame on them. He says, and I have nothing to do with this case. If you're going to put me in the grand jury, it's going to be a problem for us because we can't testify. So I thought it over, and I spoke to one of my sergeant with detectives on the case, and we decided that they really had nothing to do with the case. Their name was just mentioned. So I decided that it wouldn't be fair to put him in a grand jury and get him on a contempt and put him in jail for something he had nothing to do with. So I did the right thing, and I excused him.
Did you generally conduct yourself as an assistant district attorney in an upright, lawful manner, not selling cases to organized crime?
Absolutely, and that's what they respect.
What years were you in the district attorney's office?
1965 through 1969.
During that time, did you conduct a civil practice, although you were a full-time assistant district attorney?
Yes.
Would you describe your civil practice, and would you explain which members of La Cosa Nostra you represented simultaneously in your civil practice while you were in the Rackets Bureau?
Well, when I became an assistant district attorney in the 60s, salary was so small, and there was a practice in the office that you were allowed to practice civil law as long as it did not conflict with the office or criminal law. In other words, we were allowed to practice real estate, we were allowed to practice negligence law, wills, things like that. So my practice basically was negligence. I was handling accident cases up until possible settlement. If I couldn't settle, then I would refer it to a lawyer because I couldn't go to court. So I used to handle negligence cases, and I had anyone in the neighborhood that got in an accident, they would call me.
Did you represent members of La Cosa Nostra who lived in the neighborhood in your civil practice?
Friends of mine that I grew up with were in an accident, and they came to me, and I represented them.
Would you name some of the individuals who you represented in your civil practice who were members of La Cosa Nostra?
Well, the case in particular that I had was an accident case with Joe DeCirio, the Lucchese family, and Louis Fats, they call him his nickname, Louis Astuto, and the Gambino family. They were passengers in an automobile, got into an accident, and I represented them.
Did there come a time when you went to a La Cosa Nostra hangout to get certain legal papers signed on that civil representation? And would you describe that incident, please?
Well, I was able to settle this case with the insurance company. So in order to get payment, to get the checks, I had to get general releases signed. So I met them at the 19th Hole, which is a bar on 86th Street and 14th Avenue in Brooklyn that they frequented and that I used to go on occasion because my friends used to go there. So I went to the 19th Hole. Usually Monday, Wednesday, or Friday evenings is when everybody would meet.
And when you say everybody, you mean members of La Cosa Nostra would meet?
Well, you know, the fellas, organized crime, people involved in crime.
One last series of questions. As an attorney representing these organized crime family, were you continually tested in ways large and small by the members of organized crime?
You're always tested.
That is, they're always checking to see if you've told the truth to them about something that they may have found out about in another way?
Yes,
They set small tests.
yes,
When you were involved in the first case with Greg Scarpa, you knew that a bribing of a police officer occurred.
yes,
And some of these are the individuals whom you knew.
yes,
These were all made members of organized crime unless they're in a crew.
yes.
And those are the captains on the top line?
The top lines are the captains that I know.
Similarly, the chart right next to you that was the Gambino family. There may be pending indictments or some other legal action.
Yes.
Looking over at the Lucchese chart, if you'd help him. Are those the members faction of the family?
Yes.
And finally, this chart of the Genovese family, you knew members of that family.
Yes, those are the people I've met or people that I know.
There are
But I think you've seen a little bit of the wall of respectability that attorneys provide to the illegitimate business of organized crime and other jurisdictions for investigation and possibly prosecution. Obviously, we want to thank our chairman, Judge Kaufman, who's in New York on business of the Second Circuit, and our executive director, James Harmon, who may or may not be in town today. Thank you very much for coming. I beg your pardon?
Is it for today?
Yes, ma'am.
Will there be someone else later that you will have?
There will be a full report.